I think each individual should look to increase their skills in 6 areas a year. And we've also done things like move our football grounds from being centres of the community to being in windswept, concrete, former dockyards and other places where nobody wants to land. And then we get surprised when our town centres collapse.
We just wanted to say a big thank you for everyone who's watched so far, everyone who's subscribed. And if you haven't already subscribed, we'd really appreciate it if you could just give us a little click somewhere on the screen. A little button will pop up that you can click and subscribe to the channels. Just a quick one to say thank you for watching. And if you can subscribe, please subscribe.
Good morning, Paul. How you doing?
I am most excellent. Thank you, Warren. Yes. And
Good.
how are you?
Yeah, very well. Very well. Very well, thank you. How's your week been?
My week's been better than yours, I think, given the North London derby.
Yeah. Do you know what? Let's not talk about it. I'm most upset, Paul. Yeah, it's a terrible way to start the week.
I'm sorry to bring it up, but you know, it's only up from here. Yeah, I know. I'm in good form. Because it stopped raining.
Yeah.
It didn't rain every day last week, and it's been a lovely weekend. I was out in the Surrey Hills hiking, which is very, very pleasant indeed.
Lovely.
I've already got a run in this morning, so that's quite good.
Great.
Yeah, life is sweet.
That's
How
good.
about you? Have you been running around your garden?
No, I wish. I feel like your weeks are very at one with nature. My weeks are very much, I'm either in a soft play with my kids or I'm in a shopping centre or some kind of busy environment. So they're very different. My week's been really good. We're heading towards March, so we're nearly out of February. I don't want to wish the time away, but I think we all need a bit of sun and daylight, right?
Yes.
But I had a good weekend. Yeah, we had half term, so the kids actually. Have you been to Lakeside before, Paul? The shopping
A
centre.
very long time ago, but I can't even get a mental picture really. Tell me.
Well, I've been there. I don't think I've been there, but went there over the weekend with the kids and the family. And do you know what it was like? It was like going back to kind of what shopping environments maybe were like 20, 30 years ago, when it was vibrant. It was like shops I hadn't seen for ages there. Because like most high streets are decimated, right?
Mm.
The shops aren't like they were. But this was just like, it's like a spaceship had landed from 20 years ago. And maybe I'm just a bit naive because people probably go there quite regularly and I just don't. But it just felt like going back in time to a time of when retail was buzzing and vibrant. And
You're getting nostalgic, Warren.
yeah,
This is good to see, and also this is nice because this allows me to vent.
yeah,
And I'd love to be corrected on this, but my feeling is that you reap what you sow, and so we have designed these out of town shopping centres ever since the 1970s. Out of town shopping centres, big sheds, big lakeside type areas, and all designed so you can get there by car. And we've also done things like move our football grounds from being centres of the community to being in windswept, concrete, former dockyards and other places where nobody wants to land. And then we get surprised when our town centres collapse and many of the shops are empty and it's very hard to fill them with decent shops. I mean, it's exactly what you would, if you thought about it and wrote it down on paper, you would think, well, that's exactly the consequence. I mean, they are, we can't turn back the clock, but what a poor decision that was to not invest in the town centres and the hearts of our communities, and instead to move things out. Vent over.
No, it is a real shame. And actually, when I was there, because we went there for a specific reason. So we went there because my littlest loves Paw Patrol, kids TV show, and there's a Nickelodeon adventure place. So you go in, and Nickelodeon are the people that make Paw Patrol, and you go in and you kind of experience the Paw Patrol world along with some other TV shows from Nickelodeon. But it was quite experiential. So you're there doing that, and then there's also other things there that you could do similar, akin to that. And I just thought, imagine if you had that, or that more of this kind of thing on the high street, where there was a more of a purpose to go in, not just
exactly
the retail thing. You're right. It just it really hit me actually. And there was one thing I've just got to pick out because I thought it was brilliant. That and I don't usually bang on about retail like this or kind of consumerism quite this way because I'm not one for just purchasing things on the spot. But we went to a shop called Build-A-Bear, which you may not have heard of.
Yeah, I'm well aware of Build-A-Bear.
Well,
Yes,
aware of
yes.
Build-A-Bear.
Very expensive way to build a bear. But anyway, carry on.
It is. It is. It is. But I got sucked in with the kids, and we don't buy things, I'd say, that much actually for the kids on the spot like this. But it was end of half term. Do you know what? They made it so like special for people in the shop. I've got to tip the hat to Build-A-Bear because the kids absolutely loved it. And they still love their bears, and I think they are going to for a while. So that was one. I just thought that was a really good example of how retail or how those things have done really well. Okay, it is a bit pricey maybe, but yeah, very well done.
Well, as you say, if it's a memorable experience and you feel that the team in the shop are not just going through the motions, and the
Definitely not.
bear lasts and it carries all those memories for the kids, then great. But I suppose just sort of continuing on my theme a bit, it's weird, isn't it? Because essentially the retailers have made us go to them. Surely it's meant to be the other way around. Surely they should be where we want to be, not where they want us to be.
Yeah, that's true. We spent, an hour in the car going to Lakeside, and we were, which is brilliant. I can't knock it, but like you say, I think part of us in the back of our minds were like, actually, this would be great if it was down the road. And we're talking about people that live near that area or live near a Blue Water or Westford. And they do their shopping there. We thought, oh, they're so lucky because they get to go to these places. But imagine, it shouldn't be like that, like you say.
No. Well, that's very interesting, but I'm glad it's enjoyable, and I'm not being, curmudgeonly about it. I get that the experience is.
No, I just, yeah. But anyway, what have you seen this week?
What I've seen this week is lots of things because there's been so much interesting work going on. One theme which I picked up on as I reflected on the week is that I'm actually working with, I think, 3 organizations at the moment who are proactively seeking to upskill their team. And the primary driver is simply that they feel the team have been a bit neglected. And I wonder if this is a post-COVID hangover where, for whatever reason, probably practicality and necessity to focus on keeping the wheels on, training of marketeers has fallen by the wayside a bit. And I suspect marketeers are now saying politely, we feel we haven't been trained for a while. And maybe organizations are also thinking we've got slightly different asks of our marketeers now. And we need to upskill them. So it's notable that there seems to be a bit of sort of pent up demand in the system for marketing upskilling. And what's interesting is that associated with that is an expectation or a realization that it's all very well upskilling the marketing team, but you've also got to create the environment for those skills to be deployed. So, for example, if your ways of working are not very clear, or even if career paths are not very clear, then you create by upskilling people, you kind of create another problem, which is a bit of potential frustration as people think, I can do more now, but I'm not quite sure where to release that knowledge, skill, and energy. So that's an interesting trend that I see coming through. Do you see that in your work?
I think I do. It's interesting you picked up on that. You see the likes of Ritson and Co. kind of banging the drum about make sure you skill your teams up with, obviously he's selling a course, so he's going to say this, but he's got a point, right? Like, you need to make sure that you've got the basics and the fundamentals and those skills there. And I do see them banging the drum about actually not enough marketers have got this. And on the flip side of that, what you say is that actually there are a lot of people yearning for this stuff. And I do see a bit of that. Even myself included in that. We need to keep on the front foot with these skills. And we've talked about it before on this podcast about trying to kind of keep ourselves up with keeping ourselves skilled and refreshing our skills as well. And some of that requires going on to courses and learning, right? So I do see a bit of that. And I just wonder if we've got out the culture of encouraging that. Like you say, I think I can reflect back on COVID and pre-COVID thinking it did feel like there maybe were more opportunities or more encouragement to kind of upskill. Maybe that's been a bit lost by the wayside, where we kind of got into a bit of a reactive, everything's quite reactive because of the world changes so quick now, that actually the kind of upskilling bit, maybe it's been a bit lost along the way.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's possibly true. And I've got a little. I don't know what you'd call this. It's not an acronym. It's 631. 631, which I don't. It's not even a mnemonic. But the idea in my head is that at an individual level, I think each individual should look to increase their skills in 6 areas a year. And those don't need to be big areas, but 6 discrete things. So it's kind of once every couple of months, you're focused on one particular topic.
Yeah.
And so those things are likely, but not exclusively, but likely to be mainly relatively technical skills related to your particular role. But they could be a bit broader, again, reflecting your own individual circumstances. And those 6 things should be self-service, in that you're not a person who's part of a broader company training initiative. It's stuff that you say, right, I need to do this. I'll go ahead and do it. I've got access to the resources. That's actually 6. The 3 is, again, roughly speaking, it might be 2, it might be 4, but 3 is a good number for 3 cross-team upskilling initiatives. So it might be there are 3 themes a year where we say, as a team, we're going to focus on getting even better at. So it might be bringing consumer insights into the strategy development process, or it might be ensuring that our activation plans leverage each of the 4 Ps and are linked back to our where to play choices, something like that. So 3 big themes that everybody gets involved in, and as a group, they improve. And then the 1 is once a year to take a look at the enablers of that, the operating model that sits behind that or alongside that, to say, again, it could be personally, it could be at a team level. Have we got the right ways of working? Have we got clarity about the tech we're using? Have we got clarity about roles and responsibilities? Is the culture right? Those sorts of things. So with that 631, it means that everyone's individually developing themselves. The whole team is moving forward. And then the enablers that sit under that are being thought about as well. So that feels like a neat way of giving some shape to what otherwise might seem a little bit amorphous. What do you think?
I have to say, I really like that, Paul. What you're not talking about there, which I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, it's courses that you may purchase external to your organisation. Talking about things that people can do themselves individually, also across team, so that they can upskill in particular areas. There's some quite practical things that people can do and embed within existing kind of work streams and structures and ways of working. So it feels very achievable.
Yeah, so you're right. So on the 6, it might be that you focus on, I don't know, a particular aspect of influencer marketing for a particular role. You might go into LinkedIn Learning, find some really good resources in LinkedIn Learning, and then follow that through in terms of, let's apply that learning, maybe do a bit of search externally to get an idea of what good practice looks like. And then after a period of 2 months, say, well, I've gone from here to here in terms of what I know about this particular topic. And if you did that 6 times, as you say, because it's linked to one's actual work and it's personal, it's not going to feel like a heavy lift. It's going to feel like it's helping you because you're actually getting better at stuff that you do on a regular basis.
And do you think that, well, I was chatting to someone about this, some similar thing this week. We were mapping out these 2 core projects that kind of overlap, and we're trying to work out the work streams and the outputs that fall underneath them. Quite a big, hefty project. At the bottom, we had enablers, actually, and one of them was culture and like how we embed culture ways of working to support how we're going to do this, basically, and set ourselves up in the future to take these things on. So it's really pertinent to me, and I agree that I'm going to take that one back, basically.
Great. 631.
Yeah, love that. Great stuff. No, I agree with it as well, Paul. I think it's really true. And I wonder, and I think actually, there's so many things you could learn as a marketer that actually having some structure around it and a framework like the 631 is a good way of thinking about it to give people that focus of mind as well.
Just get something that lands in people's heads and they think, yeah, I can do that. So
Yeah.
that's what I've seen. Well, I said that's one thing I've seen. I want to share something else, but I want to listen
Yeah.
to you first. Tell me a bit about what you've seen.
Since also on LinkedIn, I saw on LinkedIn, and it was about using your product flaws to boost sales. And the example was Guinness. So I know I talk about beer a lot, or alcohol, but it's just they're good markers of like how to do marketing well. But they were referencing a behavioural scientist called Richard Shotton. This is a bit Rory Sutherland-esque. Remember the brilliant Guinness ad in the 90s, the tick follow, tuck follow, the horses coming out of the sea.
Yeah.
I didn't really appreciate that ad was about waiting, and obviously it is, right? Because we were talking about waiting within the ad. But I didn't realize that it was talking about it in the sense of waiting for the Guinness to be poured, essentially. And
I'm not sure I did. Yeah. Oh dear.
actually, the thing that people moaned about was the fact that it took so long to pour a Guinness. So actually, the whole point of the ad was it was leaning into the fact that it took a long time to pour this Guinness, and actually it's worth the wait because the quality at the end of it is well worth it. And if you look at that, one of the best ads, that's considered one of the best ads, isn't it, of all time? You know, people have opinions about that. I'm sure you do, Paul. It just really flips the narrative of that wait into a positive. And so I've just taken that away. It's just something I posted about it on LinkedIn. You know, you see these things, and something I haven't really thought about in that way, about flipping your flaw into a kind of positive. It won't work with everything, honestly, but I think that's something really interesting you consider, because I wonder if in this world we talk about everything being quicker. You know, like your product got to be quick. You've got to, know straight away what it is. Everyone wants everything now. Maybe leaning into those things that do take a bit longer, but explaining why they take a bit longer. There's something in that maybe there's a gap potentially in the market that people are thinking about. So everything is about speed these days, right?
I would agree with that. I think you're right. I think you spotted something quite accurate there, because essentially they embraced that potential negative in that it does take a long time to pour a pint of Guinness,
Yeah.
and recognise the category convention that a pint of lager takes not very long to pour, and basically reframed it, didn't they? They reframed it as not you have to wait a long time, but it's full of flavour, and I guess people associate food and drink, things taking time to prepare,
Yeah.
being linked to quality and flavour, and worked on that. So yeah, I think that makes perfect sense.
Because you think you got these, you had this trend of like 15-minute meals and things like that, didn't you, for a period? And so actually, I'm not saying that diminishes the quality of the food, but there's something in that actually things that take a long time, are well worth the wait. There were two behavioural science ideas that they picked out that were at play. It's called the pratfall effect, which I'm not sure what it means, but why it's called pratfall. But it's called how to turn a perceived flaw into a powerful brand attribute, and the 5-star fallacy. So why brands that claim perfection can seem less than believable. So yeah, take that one away.
Nice.
I'm interested to know what the other thing was that you saw.
The other thing I saw, yeah. Have you seen on LinkedIn, which is a great source of interesting content, have you seen quite a lot of these cartoony AI generated images of a person with all of their sort of career, professional working life stuff arranged around them?
I have seen that, yeah. It can't pass me by, and I kept seeing it over the last week or so.
Yeah, I've seen
too
them
much
too.
into it.
Yeah, and I think the prompt is, you say, based on what you, ChatGPT, know about me, create a cartoony image of me. It's a bit like the next step from those action toy sort of 3D transparent packaging.
Oh, I
things
remember that. Yeah,
they were around about a year ago, and I think that on the face of it, the images I've seen, they're quite fun, they're quite eye catching, and they look personalised, and they feel quite clever. But also, when you see more than one of them, you start to realise they're all quite bland. And I had a go yesterday at doing one. Well, for a start, it made me look older, which is clearly wrong.
Yeah.
But it looked a bit bland, because it had some sort of charts or something to show consultancy and I don't know, some running number or something. And I thought, well, they are bland, and I was thinking, is that a failure of AI? And I was like, no, actually, because it's doing what you're asking it to do.
Yeah.
And I think that demonstrates a thinking failure. Because at the end of the day, AI reflects the quality of the input. And
Mm,
and if you give it a shallow brief based on what you know about me, create an image, then you don't get a very sharp insight. Surface level information gives you surface level creativity. So, if they know that I like running or I'm a consultant or I'm in marketing, well, that's pretty surface level. They don't really understand what motivates me or the tensions that I'm seeking to resolve in my decisions, on a daily basis, or what I'm trying to achieve or trying to prove, which is obviously much greater
Yeah.
depth. I thought it felt like the images are defaulting to stereotypes, and that's a risk that as marketeers we sometimes fall into that trap
yeah.
where we categorize entire groups of people based on simple stereotypes, and then we're surprised when the work that supports addressing those audiences is just not very engaging.
Really, yeah, really interesting. Because I think subconsciously maybe I had that thought is that they all kind of feel the same or
Yeah.
aren't massively different from one another in some ways. And I wonder if that leads into the AI biases that, it's collecting all this information on people and it's kind of coming up with the mean average of what a person who likes running and who's a consultant might look like. And so you
Yes.
can't, you know, and then so I suppose that's the criticism of AI. It lacks a little bit of individuality.
Well, I think, I mean, I know what you mean, but I think rather than it being a critique of AI, I think it's a critique of
Of
how we sometimes use
use
AI. And I'm
AI.
as
So
guilty
you're
of this
talking more
as
about what the input is on it.
I think so. And I think so I think it's maybe a bit of a sort of the wrong question might be to say, well, is AI really creative?
Mm.
And the better question is to say, are we being creative in the thinking we bring to the party? And then are we using AI as a multiplier to take
Mm.
our creativity and to riff on it and to open it up and to give us multiple options? And then we can apply our judgment to say, well, this is a good route and that's not. So I think it's all
Yes.
about bring good thinking into AI, and you will get more options, more ideas coming back at you. But if your thinking is a bit shallow, um, and a bit one dimensional, then that's all you're going to get back from AI. And that's I think that's quite a useful mindset to have when one's thinking about how to get the best out of the
But
technology.
do you think that because people have seen one or two and then it becomes a trend, right? And people want to copy it, don't they? That actually people are
Yeah.
sticking to the same input over and over again rather than what you said, thinking, actually, how do I make this better and more interesting by giving it a better input, if that makes sense?
Yes.
They
Yes.
yeah. So these trends lean into the fact that they're shallow by nature, I suppose, that someone's kind of put this input in to get a kind of quick output, the kind of things that they like, and then everyone else is kind of mimicking that in a way.
Yeah, I mean, a simple test would be, comparing two images.
Yeah,
Say to AI, give me an image, a cartoon image to describe me based on me being a marketeer and a consultant and a runner, uh, that sort of stuff,
yeah,
versus give me an image that sums me up based on me being really interested in these areas, seeking to
yeah,
achieve that, prioritizing this, being a bit unsure about, and then I think it would be a much more interesting image, but also, to your point, the differentiation of those images across people would be much greater.
yeah, yeah. Interested. Well, maybe we could put that to the test for next week and then compare the kind of input you might put for the trend and the input you would ideally put to get more out of it. And we could compare what
Challenge
comes out.
accepted.
Yeah,
Whether
right.
the image is publishable is a different matter.
No comment. Let's see what happens, eh?
Yes, yes. So what about the week ahead, Warren? What is on the agenda?
Nothing major. Like I guess what I'm taking into the next week. Not a major thing. It was a small thing. It was a small thing. I was chatting to someone and they picked me up and said I was at marketing jargon. And I think we all as marketers think we don't talk in marketing jargon. We like to think that, don't we? So I in my head going into this week, I've got a marketing jargon klaxon in my head to make sure that I'm self-checking myself if I'm using words that may appear to be in the marketing sphere. I was going to go into it a bit more depth, but I'll save it for next week, maybe, in terms of maybe common marketing jargon terms that we could discuss, and if they are in fact marketing jargon or
Yes, we could
not.
play buzzword bingo.
Yeah. So it's just a little kind of tip for myself going into the week is really what I'm thinking about this week. What about yourself, Paul?
Really good week this week coming up. I've got a briefing session tomorrow to help a bunch of fellow consultants think about how we best identify needs for skill development within organizations. That's going to be fascinating. It's always good working with other consultants and getting their perspectives too. Really interesting session planned for the middle of the week, helping a team develop their leadership promise to the business.
Yeah.
And being super clear about what it is they're going to stand for amongst their colleagues in other functions. And that's really important because it forms the basis of their overall stance as a function. And then on Thursday, the first of a series of 2 value proposition workshops, helping an organization think even more clearly about what their real value proposition is, their real positioning, and how they can differentiate themselves in quite an interesting marketplace as a business-to-business emerging marketplace. So that's going to be fascinating working with that team, bringing what I've seen, talking to them and their customers to them and getting them to talk about it. So it's a nice week where things are going to sort of coalesce and lots of thinking is coming together, not to finish, not to conclude necessarily in all cases, but to advance the thinking towards a solution. So yeah, it's going to be quite a rewarding week, I think.
Sounds
We'll
like
see
a
how it goes.
And can I ask you a question before we go?
Mm.
Just to link to my marketing jargon thing, I guess what some of my marketing jargon thing is linked to is language and understanding, kind of, I guess, consensus around language and terms. So, for example, you talk about strategy and purpose for organizations. People tend to come to the kind of table maybe with some people will come to the table with differing understandings or explanations of what those things are. I wondered how you approach that in your let's say, but maybe that's something to get into next week once you've had your week of work.
Well, it is a good question, and the way I tend to do it, just to answer you, because it is a fairly straightforward answer to an extent, is up front to be clear about what the meanings are for the terms, whether it be value proposition, whether it be culture, whether it be vision, just to say, look, there may be multiple interpretations, but today this is the version we'll use.
Yeah.
Then a lot of thinking has to go into making sure that is the right definition for the day. But generally it works to establish that early, give people that to refer to, and then to allow everybody in the session, the workshop, whatever it might be, to refer back to that, so that rather than it being a sort of, well, that's not and that's not, it's let's just refer back to the definition we've agreed and see if it stacks up against it.
Well, I think that's great advice to take into the week. So thanks, Paul.
631, Warren. That's the way forward.
631 and spam. I've got those on my. I'll just post it. As long as you don't know what spam is, you can see the video about it on my YouTube channel.
Yes, enjoy that. And I wish you a super productive week.
Thanks, Paul. Have a good one.